Welcome to the Prepare Like a Pro podcast. Every week I host live chats via our YouTube channel with leaders in the AFL and high performance industries. Join me live every Sunday at 6 p.m. where I debrief the recent chats and announce the upcoming guests. We drop an inspiring and educational episode every Monday. If you like the show, please follow us on your favourite podcast app. Back to the Prepare Like a Pro podcast. This week on the show we have Nalesh Murti. Nalesh is an athletic performance physiotherapist working at the GWS Giants AFL team. He has a strong background in football medicine, especially in end-stage sports specific rehab. He has completed his football diploma and currently completing his sports physio degree. He has a special interest in hip and groin injuries and has currently completing his FIFA Diploma in football medicine. Before we start episode 56, the Prepare Like a Pro podcast mission is to empower aspiring athletes and staff with practical knowledge from some of the industry's most inspiring individuals and to strengthen the AFL community. If you like the show, please show your support by following us on Instagram and subscribing to the YouTube channel. We've actually got a special giveaway for those that subscribe to the YouTube channel. Will get a free gift. And also we have our iTunes and Spotify. So make sure to head over to those streams to catch this podcast and many more. Bear with me, guys. I am just going to invite Nalesh to join us now. Here he is.
There we go. How you going, mate?
Yeah, going well, mate. Thanks for jumping on.
You're right. This was 2 months or 3 months in the making?
Yeah, we got there. Persistence, eh?
How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm going well, mate. I'm looking forward to this. This is the modern day way of catching up nowadays for us networking people in the industry.
Yeah, it is. COVID's poked a lot of holes, hasn't it?
It sure has. But I'm looking forward to this one, mate. There's been a few that have reached out and given you plenty of love, so you've got
nice.
Good respect in the industry. Let's dive in. Take us back to the beginning. At what age did you discover you had a passion for performance, but also specifically in your area of physio and medicine?
I think it's like every physio's journey. I think I played sport, got injured, had good and bad experiences. So from there, obviously the physio side of things kicked in. I think, come year 10, 11, 12, and played football at an okay level. But I think when it all kind of came together was obviously football stopped, but then you're trying to go, okay, cool, what do I want to do? Yes, of course, you want to still be involved with sport. It stops, but then, it sounds pretty corny, but as a physio, or being a physio, I was looking forward to actually, help. How can I help people? How can I, make an impact? It does sound corny and very cliche, but they're the things that probably got me going. And then obviously being in sport, I'm involved in sport all my life. I'm like, okay, what's another way to continue being involved in, something that I'm passionate in, and obviously that's sport. So that linked up really well. And I think physio kicked in to help people in a career in medicine, and with a window to grow and become more was the path. And then obviously sport kicked in, was obviously like every male and female, you love it, and how do I bring that into my workplace? And it all fell together, mate. So that's how physio came in the picture. I didn't get a UAI or ATAR of 99, unfortunately. So I went the long way, which was a good journey. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And can you recall the first physio that either worked with you as an athlete or that you met?
Bruno Vidage and Adrian Vidage. I wouldn't say, looking back now, had the best management.
Yeah, okay.
I think, I don't think when I played, football or soccer as we call it, I didn't have the best management. And that's probably purely why I think it made me itch to be in that sport end or high performance end of things. Because, and in the football world, I personally think the side of physio sometimes back in those kind of days, not saying that old, but was missed. It was a lot of soft tissue. Yeah, jump on the bed, give you a flush, give you some, static stretches, and off you go. Play the sport. I'll bring the ice spray as well. I'm sure you've seen the ice spray come out in the Euro euros. So stuff like that obviously burnt a hole in how I wanted to practice physio and where I thought was a gap. And obviously the industry is changing year by year, and so it's moving in the right direction. So yeah, and I think that's how physio happened. Obviously, working with multiple different physios, which obviously we'll get to, but they're the ones that probably have polished me in a way of a physio that I want to become and continue to grow into. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so did you know at the time that your management wasn't at an optimal level, or was it just sort of what you knew and you thought, geez, maybe that this could be done better, maybe I should pursue or do some homework myself, and that's where the path started? Was it through helping your own management?
Well, I think it was purely, I think first I didn't know. Education wasn't a thing. I think you speak to every physio, education is an important pillar you have. Education wasn't a thing. It was a patch and dispatch, put a band-aid on it, go play. Strength. And again, if you know football, no one goes in the gym. You don't lift. It's foreign. It's cancerous. You don't lift. You get sore and you get slow. So, which is a big contrast these days, but that was how it ventured off. But obviously, when I kind of met different physios within the sporting realm, that probably occurred while I was playing, and also doing my bachelor's in sports science, which was my first undergrad. That's when I started seeing the different physios, and then I obviously was very lucky to do my honours project, which actually involved the Giants, and then I got a bit of a taste of, oh wait, this is what a sports physio or a good clinical physio or a rehab physio or a performance environment looks like, and this is what I've been missing. And from there, and that was like now 12 years ago. And I was just like, oh fuck, this is what it's like. There's no differential machine here. There's no heat pack. There's no tense machine. Guys are actually lifting tin, and guys are running and they're modified, and so that's when I think everything started falling into place for me. Was this is what management is. And from there, I think my vision turned into, I don't want to just become a physio to help people. I want to be a physio at the pointy end of things. Obviously continue my passion of, being involved in sport and to some capacity as obviously, one, a physio, but also as an individual, because I think, me being involved for my ninth season now at the Giants, it's definitely developed, grown me as a physio, but personally as well, you see the different side of things, and yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. So how did you, for sports scientists, physios, anyone in the field really, like how did you go about getting into the GWS? You mentioned you did your honours there. Take us through the steps. Did you reach out with someone at uni? Where was the connection with the club?
So I think it all kicked off. I did my bachelor's degree, and in the last year, Team GWS popped up. Not too sure if everyone knows how all that worked out. Uni sent an email who wants to get involved, and I think out of the cohort of 200 and something, 3 people sent an email through. I was one of the 3. Got involved, and it wasn't much. That's where I obviously met Lockie Wilmot and a couple other coaches and stuff that are still around. And it wasn't much. You were strapping, taking water out, you were watching the physios, you were watching the docs. And for me, obviously, that's better than nothing. And from there, I think I did my honours project, and I can say it now, it was very tactical, my honours project, and it wasn't in terms of anything that I'd continue on. Because I found out then the Giants were going to become a team. I had a supervisor who wanted me as an honours student, so I kind of approached the Giants with a topic that they would be interested in. And it was one, obviously, tick off honours thing to set myself apart, because you can easily go do undergrad, masters, get all the books and set yourself apart. And to be honest, I'd never do honours again. It was a tough year, learned a lot by myself. It's a different, realm of things in education. But I used that to obviously get into the Giants in terms of communicating with them. That went through John Quinn, who after a couple of tough conversations, interviews, and he kind of said, "Yep, no worries, let's do it," which is really good, because what it did was, when I say tactical, it was, yes, I'm doing my honours project there, but it gave me the door to go, okay, cool, I can put my foot in the physio end and say hi to the physio boys and show my interest and observe and get paid in knowledge and rock up and do hours. And that's how it all kicked off. Eventually, obviously during that time, by that day, that honours year finished, I started my masters, finished that. I'm obviously still doing hours of the Giants in terms of observing, watching, get hands on where I can. Obviously go watch, back then we had a strength coach with Lachlan Wilmot, jump in the gym with him, ask the questions as you should. So things like that worked out. And obviously, from there I had, also different mentors or, figures, in my career then early on, which kind of pointed me in different directions of, observing is one thing, but getting your hands dirty is another. So that kind of probed me to, go work in different clinics. I worked at 2 different clinics and, also juggled the Giants. And then again, one of my mentors kind of said, hey, you can't be like every other physio, because every physio wants to fill the gap to be the rehab physio or bridge that gap of end stage. Why don't you try to, spread your wings a bit and become a great clinical physio? And go spend some time and do some stuff at an osteopath clinic and other physio clinic. And from there, I think it all kind of panned out well together. And then, going back, I think the big message, I remember, by then, I'm working in the Giants. We had Wilmot, David Joyce, Leroy, Timmy Palm and all those guys and Luke Heath. And I think collectively, I came to understand that, I think the gap in the industry is that, there's no kind of transition between physio S&C or physio and end stage. But then there was a bigger gap where every physio wanted to be that end stage physio, but forgot physio 101, which, I think is a gap. And then it kind of nailed me to go, okay, cool. How do I become a great clinical physio and use this time to also, spread my wings and, observe, get my hands dirty because I'm at the Giants doing the rehab side of things and, be involved with the strength side of things and then learn all the strength rehab stuff. So it's kind of been really good because I wouldn't think my drives got me there. I think the people that have influenced my careers got me there, by conversations, fucking up a couple of things, trying to think you're bigger than you are. Then you realize, oh, wait, how do I not miss that? How do I miss that diagnosis? How is that management? That's what I've managed. And I'm, it kind of poked holes in my career early on. And then it kind of took me back going, hey, wait, why am I trying to be this end stage physio guy when I haven't cleaned up my 101 physio skills, clinical skills? And I think now, it's maybe fast forward to 9 years into the Giants, and I look back at it, I'm glad I've kind of taken that process and built it up that way because, it makes you well rounded as a clinician, and also as yes, the coach terms loosely used, but rehab side of things, because you can understand day 1, day 2, and all the way to day 365 when they go back out on the pitch or wherever it is, to make like a valued physio and a with all the tools you need. Not saying I've got that right now, but I think that's the vision I was kind of put into me eventually. So
yeah, fantastic. I mean, it's a good topic around sort of like what you're mentioning, like you've got to be well-rounded, have that generalist approach and get your hands dirty. If you're, in the medical world, not just stay into the medical tent or the medical room, but get into the gym floor, like you said, with Lachlan, or get on the field and watch a speed-based session, and help out, essentially, especially if you're working in sport with the rehab, you've got to understand the demands of the sport and then how to be able to work in the gym floor, work on the field, work in the clinic, in terms of screening, assessments and all that. So you have to have it all. But then ultimately you want to have, like you're talking about now, which your mentor mentioned, be really good at one thing too, like have a specialty. I
think people forget, sorry, I just butted in. People forget we're physios. Be good at our, our first pillar of things. Be good at that before you go be good at other stuff. But I think on the back of what you said, I think the biggest important thing is you got to start speaking. If you want to work in a footy club, and I've learnt this, over the time, is you need to speak everyone else's language. Because no one knows your language. If you rock up as a physio, and you say, this is what we're doing, it's not going to go far. You got to speak the strength coach's language. You got to speak the high performance language. You got to know the coach's language, and ultimately you want to know the performance department's philosophy, goals, and where they're going, and that's how you'll fit in. Within this space, I personally think.
We'll be right back after this short break to explain our most popular online program. This is more than just an online program. This is a virtual high-performance program at its finest. Not only are you getting a structured strength and conditioning program, you're getting customised load selections and detailed video tutorials. So we're giving you guidance on exactly how much to lift, how fast to run, and how to perform the movement. You'll be able to access your training program and upload your loads during workouts through our app on your phone. Our exclusive Facebook group gives you the opportunity to connect with a community of like-minded athletes and to continue to educate yourself about cutting-edge research and elite techniques for performance with our regular posts and discussion forums. The programs are specific with seasonal timing, playing position, and age with your goal in mind. For example, an under-13s female midfielder wanting to gain critical mass would follow a very different program to an under-19s male tall forward wanting to maintain weight. The Prepare Like a Pro online program is an end-to-end coaching service without the big price tag. Sign up today to attack your goals and be the fastest, strongest and most resilient version of you on game day. Fill out the Inquire Now page to speak with Jack about finding the right program for you. Welcome back to the show.
And when did you recognise that? Like you mentioned, you're 9 years in, so you've had great experience in that. Like, how long did it take to get there? And how did you? Was there mentors that helped build that awareness, or is that something that you've just learnt through adapting in your career?
Yeah, definitely mentors. Like, I can't come here and sit on a speech that I worked at different clubs. My training's been very different. I've been in the same club for 9 years with 3 different high performance managers, 4 different head physios and other physios around me and SSC coaches around me, and 4 different doctors as well. So I think being around all those individuals, and obviously there's highlighted of, like I said, David Joyce, Wilmot, Yatira, Paulos, all those guys that are there at the moment, and physio-wise, Luke Heath and Cullen Ball and Leroy Lobo, Tim Palmlock, all those guys, I think, unintentionally mentored me, if that makes sense, because I was around in conversations and meetings, and like I said, learn from your mistakes, and has this been communicated up the chain? Does the conditioning guys know he can't be doing, change direction because he's doing this, and it's come from, obviously being around it all. And like I said, I'm grateful because it's not something you pick up on a textbook. You pick this up by doing it. And I think you pick it up by, most importantly, standing back and acknowledging your, keep referring to fuck ups, but, your faults. Because if you know it all day one and you don't step back and, evaluate yourself and critique yourself and get better, you're not surviving the footy world.
And GWS, so they were starting out when you were doing your honours. You mentioned it was a tactical decision to get a foot in the door, which makes a lot of sense and set you up. Were you looking at? You mentioned you played football, soccer. Were you looking at A-League teams as well? Like, what made you decide AFL?
It's funny. I never really had an interest in AFL at all, early days.
Yeah,
at all. The goal was to become a sports physio, or and venture my way into the EPL and do the things that I've obviously been passionate about, watching go to the EPL or go working in Europe. So that's still the somewhat dream. It's a path that I think will take longer than I really thought if I want to think I'm the right guy to go overseas. And it's initially 4 years and you're like, sweet, I'll apply for all. Now I'm 9 years in, I'm like, wait, I still got to tick off this. And am I good at this? Have I polished the skill? And you'll never be perfect, but you just got to be, like I said, aware of what you can and can't do and where you need to improve on. And that's the only way you'll improve. But
yeah,
to kind of go back to that, I got involved in the AFL and then slowly fell in love with it, and purely because I think of the people that were around me, to mentor me and push me in the direction and show me, David Joyce was one of them. He kind of pushed me in the direction of do different courses and think outside the box, like Exos course, done my strength level 1 and 2, and something more outside the box with and I think it's been really, really beneficial as the time's gone on, is doing, a leadership course and done 2 leadership courses. Because I think, ultimately, as your podcast highlights, you want to be in football, but I think, in football, it's not just being about the better physio or the best physio, or best SSE coach. It's about being, you've worked in a football club. It's about being a good manager, being, asset to the club, and, being able to communicate, learn the culture, systems and processes. That's how you survive. But then you back that up with your good clinical skills as a physio or as a strength and conditioning coach, whatever your assets are. So, yeah.
Yeah, love that, mate. Take us through. You thought it would be be at the EPL like sooner. What for those that have similar ambitions and may not be at the level that you are, where they've had the experience at elite club at all. What have you learnt throughout your last experiences? In terms of polishing those skills, what skills are you working on currently?
I think my initial thing was, okay, cool. I've done my masters. I've done 4 years. I've got runs on the board. I've got the label of working in sport. They'll get me there.
Yeah.
But then jumping on, I think, having couple of interviews at different places, hearing those, then jumping in an interview and sitting there, someone asking a question, and you're just like, fuck, that's physio 101. I think they're the things. So that's what's made me highlight. I want to become a complete physio. I think when I think of clinically comfortable, being more of a senior role and being challenged and, being in a position where I've had to, had heated conversation with the head coach or coaching department, I think that's when, the stepping stone starts. Because if you follow the EPO, it's not just being about a physio, it's about, again, surviving the rat race there. So, and it comes down to having coaches and being able to manage players in different European countries. Like I said, football, weights is cancerous. People don't want to lift. They're on legs every day, which is very foreign to, the AFL world. You've seen it. AFL players go on feet 3 days in a row, they're done. Someone will blow up. So I think I just want to be able to, have a full armory. And this is a bit of a fear and rejection thing. I won't lie. Am I ready? Do I want to do an interview and, not be ready for this? So, but, like I said to you, 3 months ago when we chatted, and I think life comes in the way as well, and that slowed me down, which is a positive because, family and so forth. But we'll get there, and I think, there's a path. I haven't planned it. It's paving itself, and see where it leads.
Yeah, love it, mate. I love the honesty as well. If you don't mind, we'll dive into that topic of interviews a little bit more. You mentioned like Quinny with your honours asked you a couple of hard questions, and I'm sure over your career you've had plenty. What off top of mind? What are some challenging questions that you've had that stretched you and that'd be good for listeners like anyone in the field to wrap their heads around on how they'd answer that question.
I think I still remember with Quinny. I think I still remember the Quinny. He was basically like, don't know how the wording went, but basically like, why the fuck am I get you, mate? Like, we're just setting up the club. I think I was like 20, yeah, 20, I reckon. Yeah. I sat there, I panicked. As you would. Obviously, you Google John Quinn, you Google these people, and I don't know what I said. I said something that worked. So questions like that, you're gonna get ready for. Why you? Why are you so important? Because guess what? Everyone else is important as well. Because there's 220 people in my 220 people have graduated. Why you? What's so special about you? Questions like that. I think early days kind of got to me. How have I set myself apart? Why am I not like what everyone else has done? A masters. Everyone's done honours. Everyone's done their sports level 1. Everyone's done their strength level 1. Why you? So I think they're the initial questions. How to set yourself apart. I think a lot of clinical questions. Questions that I've probably I think I've failed at were initially putting it all together as a physio.
Mm-hmm.
I think as physios at times we are really good at reading the textbook and understanding a concept. I'm not too sure how it works in the strength world. Understanding a concept, talking about the concept, diagnosing, but then putting it all together in the performance world is a complete different thing.
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
How does it work within the program? Because you don't want to stop an athlete moving just because he's got a sore calf. What else can he do? What can't he do? And I think early days, that's where I slipped up. And that made me learn, because that came with time. Like anything, with time you learn, time you grow, and with failures you grow. So I think now, within being involved and embedded within a club with different ways it's gone, it's been good, because I've kind of seen the different ways of doing things and able to, again, put it all together. So that's within the sporting realm and things. Again, like every physio question, you've got to be really sound clinically. And as physios, we're the headresters of the footy club, so you've got to be able to speak well, communicate well. I think they're probably things I'd probably push over to make sure you're really good at communication, being honest, and and probably rule number one: be a good person before anything. Actually,
you've got to learn pretty quick in the elite world, don't you? And like you've alluded to many times, you've got to be good at your craft, but also be able to understand the environment and how to communicate with different lenses, whether it be the strength guy, the conditioning person, the athlete, the coaches, and like you've referenced, and it's good for listeners to hear that the importance of getting your hands dirty and giving yourself experience. It doesn't matter what level it is, whether it be juniors, community level, but practicing it in the real world, there's no better experience.
Yeah, exactly right. Get your hands dirty, and you got to remember your role is not the most important role. Everyone thinks their role is important, so you got to collectively work and put it all together. But yeah, rule number one: get your hands dirty, no matter what league it is, where it is. That's where you practice your clinical skills. That's where you'll make your mistakes. That's when it's important to step back and understand those mistakes, accept them, and learn from it and get better.
There'll be no doubt some young footballers tuning in and listening to this recording as well, or maybe tuned in live. For those guys, like you've seen the best athletes at the highest level for nearly a decade now, what do they do well? From any, it doesn't have to be the medical world, but just how they prepare, how they train, game day, everything that you've seen, that you've learnt yourself. What are some things that young footballers need to focus on, do you think?
I think that, again, being one club, we've seen players come and go, but we've also seen kids from 2011 turn into men in 2012, and at the Giants, your original players. I think what they do really well, that they're consistent, and they're consistent at being a professional footballer. Not within club hours, but they're consistent at being a professional footballer throughout their week. And I think that they do the 99% of the stuff really well, and they hound into the 1% of things. So they tick all those boxes. And if like you said, the footballers are listening, our boys would be going to recovery centres on the days off, doing their prep pre-training. They'll be doing their extras post gym, and that being in regards to tendon loading, or extras in terms of their past history of shoulder injury or knee injury. And I think one of the big different things I've realised in players, and I reckon players that have probably come from other clubs initially when they're older, and probably had the balls to ask questions and challenge us. Why am I doing this? I think that kind of helps. We had a couple of players come through, like example, Matty De Boer is an example. He came from Freo. It's a healthy challenge. Not challenging your role, but he asks and intrigues, and I think that's what actually sets players apart. And again, you're a footballer, like a footballer, you're not an academic, but players want to know.
They're curious.
They're curious, and again, like they're not just footballers; they're adults and teenagers and people like us. They want to know what's going on, and that they obviously have trust in us, because they have their careers with the injury in their hands, and obviously they want to have respect in us too. So I think it counts out all like that too. Yeah.
And then when you're taking on a new athlete that you may not have worked before in a rehab sense, how do you go about building rapport and building that buy-in, that trust early days? What are some of your big focuses?
I think you've probably ticked off the two things I'd probably love to talk about is trust and respect. I think they're the biggest things you need before you start throwing things at them. And this is a process, obviously, in the rehab, like a long-term rehab realm or short-term, whatever it is. Like I said before, that they've basically put their careers or injuries in your hands. So you want to build those trusts. And, I think initially it's about being black and white, honest, sitting down, talking timelines, setting expectations is really important. When you sit down with the athlete, not being fluff, and like all rehab, we've all seen that rehab graph. It's never a nice real straight line. It's ups and downs and there's highs and lows. But I think they're the big important parts. And I think most importantly, I think you got to stop treating all of them like footballers. Treat them like teenagers and adults. They're also people. I think we get caught up on tucking our shirt in and chucking the textbook at them and this is what we're doing and this is what the science says. And I think you'll get nowhere because you won't get buy-in. If you start off like that, you're definitely not going to buy-in. Because players don't respect it. And I think I've been lucky because I've been younger, so I haven't been able to do the tuck in, throw textbook shirt, thing at athletes because I'll be too scared to. But I think I've been able to obviously, grow within that realm where I've built trust and respect. And when you actually have an honest conversation with them, they're taken on board. And within that comes, like education. So that's within the rehab realm. And when you sit and speak to them, this is what you got, this is what's happening this is what's happening, mate. You're not drinking, blah, 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 So I think that's the big key, education. And obviously then, you go through your training prep stuff within the rehab side of things, before, we kick off, these are things you need to tick off. Obviously we prescribe it for them, but this is what you need to be ticking off. I don't need to hold your hand, you're an adult, blah, blah. I think if you give them that, it works really well. If you hold their hand, you're setting them up to fail, and you're also setting yourself up to fail, because the day you've got 6, 10, 12 rehabbers and you're holding all their hands, you're just running around in circles, and you're not providing, one, the service you need to, and two, you're doing wrong by them because they're just waiting on you, and it's a complete mess. I think one of the big, also another thing, you want to make sure you kind down on is reporting. Within the rehab space, you've been involved as well. Yeah, I'm all good, man. Yeah, I can sprint. Hammy's feels fine. And then 2 days later, Hammy's sore. I didn't tell you. Hammy's been tired, but I really want to play on the weekend. And it goes back to, trust and respect and education. Yes, you can see it all the time really well together. And I think, if you show them those pieces, I think it works really well. And I think the last thing, I'd probably put in that rehab space is, I think working within an S&C coach helps, but and the S&C coaches do this really well. But I think exposing your athlete within the rehab side of things to all key fundamentals or movement competencies, as we like to call it, so they're bulletproof or competent in all areas before they exit rehab. Yeah, so they're the little global things I'd probably work on. I know you can talk in different streams of what you want to address, but I think they're the big key pillars, mate. Trust, respect, education, training prep, teaching them, or teaching them your fundamentals of programming and so forth. So they become the complete athlete.
Yeah, I love it. And ultimately that communication and relationship, like you touch on with the trust and respect, if it's not there, you'll have your plan, but that recipe, that plan will have to, change at times. But if the athlete's not letting you know that they're having it's tight or that they're feeling certain symptoms then and there, then you can't really influence the situation and pivot when you need to, which doesn't get the best result. So love that, mate. Great pillars, and thanks for sharing. We'll start to wrap it up, mate. It's been a great chat, and thanks so much for your time.
No worries.
What are you excited about for 2021? What's on the horizon for you this year, Nalesh?
2021 is a bit of a personal year. We've had our first child, so
congratulations.
It's a very left field answer, but I think concentrate on family life, and because I'll never probably get this back. The early days of him not running around and I can actually control it, being home for shower time and stuff like that. That's the biggest goal I've got actually at the moment. Being
Love
a dad.
That.
We get so caught up and our space doesn't help in terms of football sporting world. We just get caught up on our identity being in sport, work, work for Sunday, play the game, win or lose, start again Monday. So I think being present is the biggest goal for 2021 professionally. I think to push myself into more of a senior position in a role and so forth would be the biggest goal, and that'd be within Giants or elsewhere. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. Yeah,
absolutely, mate. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how your journey, like you said, how your path goes, and love that final message of being present. My son's 2 years old, so you've got
awesome.
plenty of fun.
He'd be running your end by now. So
it sure is. They keep us busy, and it's a fun journey to be a part of. Like you said, it doesn't happen again, so cherish it while you can.
I appreciate it.
Awesome, Nalesh. Well, we'll speak soon, mate. Thanks again for jumping on.
No worries, and thank you for having me. So I appreciate it. Cheers, mate.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks, mate. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this episode and want even more, our Academy is for you. The Prepare Like a Pro Academy is a platform that hosts exclusive features and bonus content, such as a Q&A segment aimed at getting to know the guests on a more personal level. Here's an example with Emily Meehan, head sports dietitian at the Collingwood Football Club.
What are things that fire you up?
Oh, this one is always, so I suppose it is, it'll be topical for most people, I think, but staying in your lane. And I often find that with nutrition, everyone eats, so everyone has an opinion. And I think that's what really gets me fired up, because so many people try and provide nutrition advice based on their N of 1 experience when they did intermittent fasting or keto or whatever it might be. And then
Game changers. I'm sure that gave you
game changers, whatever that might be. And look, it probably keeps me in a job, but that it does drive me insane, because sometimes the information can be so detrimental and opposite to what I've been working with my athlete or athletes. And, you know, and because they hear it on someone's socials or through a documentary, it unravels everything that I've been working with an athlete for.
Yeah.
Another feature of our Academy is the opportunity each week to join myself as co-host on the Prepare Like a Pro live chat show. Here's an example with Academy member Rama Davies as strength and conditioning coach at the Box Hill Hawks.
Welcome, Rama, to the chat. Rama has also worked at Box Hill, or currently he's working at Box Hill Hawks with us. Awesome. So he's another Box Hill man in the strength and conditioning department. So I'll handle it over to you, Rama, to ask your question, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Excellent. Thanks, Jack. And thanks Sam for the chat. It was I found it to be really insightful, plenty of gems in there, and I enjoyed it a lot. Mate, my question to you was, you spoke quite a bit about perspective during that chat, and I was wondering, what are some of the things that you either know or do physically that you wish you either knew or did back at the beginning of your career? What are some of those things?
Yeah, good question. So I suppose with perspective on life, that sort of point, it certainly has been massive for me now, and didn't probably have that as much when I was younger. I suppose one thing I might mention is gratitude. I spend a lot of my time doing a lot of gratitude exercises, listening to podcasts, doing a journal every day, just to say what I'm grateful for, sort of 3 things. And that's a fantastic way that I've been able to reset and just kind of gain that gratitude and perspective about, that there is more to life than football, or, might be whatever, as an S&C coach, if something's, you're having a hard time, it can be massive with just, opening your eyes a little bit and losing that sort of tunnel vision, or being stuck in that work bubble. So that's been huge. I think I wish back then, when I was younger, I asked more questions and was a bit more open to different things. I think I was a bit single-minded back then, and I thought there was one way of doing things. And if I kind of didn't have that fear of, asking a silly question, or fear of judgment, it would have got me a lot further, and I probably would have learned a lot quicker. Being open to sort of different things, because you never know what you might find. It's just, there's so many people, great people out there, knowledgeable people to learn off.
And there's plenty more where that came from. If you would like to learn more, then enter patreon.com/prepare like a pro, or head to the link in our show notes. Thank you for listening to the Prepare Like a Pro podcast. If you like this episode, it'd be a massive help if you could like, follow, rate, give a review, or even share with your mates. The show is recorded in Melbourne, Australia. Be sure to follow our Instagram page for all updates on our latest and greatest. If you would like to get in touch to suggest a guest or advertise with the Prepare Like a Pro podcast, please email me at jack@preparelikeapro.com. Thanks so much for tuning in.